My golden child brother harassed me for escaping poverty, spread vicious rumors to destroy my engagement, and tried to blackmail me, so I turned his own tactics against him and watched his world collapse. Growing up, my older brother chose our rich dad and our parents' divorce, then laughed at me because I got stuck with our poor mom. But the thing was, I actually liked it that way. You see, when Marcus got a brand new Mercedes for his 16th birthday at dad's mansion, whilst I had to take the city bus with a monthly pass mom could barely afford, I was happy for him. I was also happy for him when dad flew him to Tokyo for spring break on a private jet. Meanwhile, I spent mine working double shifts at McDonald's to help mom pay rent. When he posted photos from his $500 a plate sushi dinner, I was eating ramen noodles for the third day straight. He texted me, "Mom's charity case still alive?" And I laughed alongside him, because I knew that in the long run, how he treated me right now because I was the one stuck with our poor mother would only benefit me. And I was right. I graduated high school with a full academic scholarship because I realized studying was my only way out. Marcus, on the other hand, dropped out in sophomore year because he thought he could coast through life on dad's money. We actually stopped talking right around this time. His final text, "Blood means nothing, money does." And as sad as I was, I matched his energy. I still texted him once or twice a year, wishing him Merry Christmas or a happy birthday though. I knew that despite all dad's money, Marcus had no real friends, and that a simple text from his sibling probably meant a lot to him. But other than that, we didn't talk. All I knew was that he was fully reliant on dad and was trying to make it as a day trader. Honestly, I thought I'd never see him again. Until one day when I was 28. I had just graduated med school, bought a small apartment, and recently gotten engaged. That's when I got the random urge to contact him. I think I just wanted my brother to see me and be proud of me. I thought he would be. But instead, I got the biggest slap to the face of my life. I showed up to the cafe with an invitation to a ball me and my fiancé were going to, and a watch that had belonged to our grandfather, something I'd kept safe all these years. I actually wanted to reconnect, but then I saw him, and I almost gasped. He was trying to hide his exhaustion with expensive sunglasses indoors, and was wearing a designer outfit with the tag still on. To my surprise, he actually hugged me and smiled. I hugged him back, but kept my guard up. We exchanged pleasantries, but as soon as the waiter took our orders, his mask fell apart. He snapped his fingers at him like he was a dog. We began catching up, and I quickly found out dad had just cut him off after he crashed his third car. I saw this as my chance to invite him to the ball, but before I could finish, he cut me off. Still playing house with peasants? I just stared at him and saw the resentment in his eyes. It had been 12 years since the divorce. No way was he still like this. I was taken aback, and for the first time in my life, I fully saw just how pathetic and broken Marcus was. I gave up on the invitation and took out Grandpa's watch and gave it to him. But instead of thanking me or even acknowledging its significance, he sneered, "Mom's pawn shop special?" My jaw dropped. My body filled with so much rage, I felt my face turning red. I looked at him dead in the eye, my hands twitching with anger. In response, he looked up, except instead of making eye contact, his head started darting around and avoiding me, almost as if he was terrified of what I was about to do. It took every part of me not to stand up and use my 3 years of kickboxing on him. Instead, I did something even better. I simply kept staring at him and began taunting his deepest insecurities. My voice dropped low. "Dad never loved you." He went red. The tears came instantly. I leaned in closer. "You were just mom's price." He was fully crying by this point, his expensive sunglasses doing nothing to hide it, but I didn't care. I even took out the ball invite and slid it across the table, telling him this was his final chance to have family again. With that, I walked out. Looking back, I shouldn't have invited him. Turns out my words had hurt him deeply. So deep, he decided to show up to the ball, and at it, try to ruin everything I had ever worked for. The charity ball was 3 weeks away when Marcus showed up at my apartment building. The doorman called up, confused about the disheveled man claiming to be my brother. I watched him on the security monitor, pacing in the lobby, still wearing those ridiculous sunglasses at 8 p.m. His designer clothes looked slept in. I buzzed him up against my better judgment. Emma was at her book club, thankfully. When I opened the door, Marcus stumbled past me, reeking of whiskey. He surveyed my modest apartment with theatrical disgust, running his fingers along my IKEA bookshelf like he was checking for dust. He collapsed onto my couch without invitation, pulling out his phone to show me screenshots. Mom's old dating profile from 2009, active during their marriage. Messages to someone named Brad. His hands shook as he scrolled. The timestamp showed these were from when I was interviewing for my scholarship, the most important week of my teenage life. Marcus shoved the phone in my face, his breath hot with alcohol. He claimed Mom had been selling herself, that Dad found out, and that's why he'd fought so hard for custody of Marcus. The words tumbled out in a rehearsed rush. He'd clearly been practicing this confrontation. I grabbed his phone, studying the messages more carefully. They were real, but something felt off about his narrative, the way he kept glancing at my reactions, gauging impact. Mom had been desperate for money then, I remembered. She'd pawned her wedding ring that same month to pay for my SAT prep books. The next morning, Marcus was gone, leaving only a whiskey stain on my couch, but the damage was starting. Emma found a text from an unknown number on her phone claiming I'd abandoned our dying mother for a medical conference. The message included details only Marcus would know. At the hospital, I was called into Chief Morrison's office. Someone had filed an anonymous complaint about me abandoning a dying parent. Morrison dismissed it immediately, but I noticed the photo on his desk, an estranged son he mentioned when he caught me looking. His own messy divorce had cost him everything. I drove to Mom's storage unit that afternoon, searching for anything to counter Marcus's narrative. Behind boxes of my old textbooks, I found her journal from the divorce. My hands trembled as I read Dad's ultimatum: give me Marcus or get nothing in the settlement. The next entry made my stomach drop. Mom had chosen me over the money. She'd given up Marcus to keep me safe from Dad's influence. Emma was waiting when I got home, her phone in her hand. Sophia had been texting their friend group about what she'd heard at lunch, something about my real background that Marcus had been spreading. Emma's eyes searched mine for answers about the brother I'd never mentioned. The pattern became clear over the next week. Marcus appeared at my gym during my morning workout. He showed up at the coffee shop where I grabbed breakfast. His car was in the hospital parking lot when I left late shifts, never approaching, just watching, making sure I knew he was there. James, Emma's brother, pulled me aside at Sunday dinner. As a lawyer, he'd quietly looked into some some of Marcus's claims. The investigation was revealing interesting patterns about Dad's financial manipulations during the divorce, but James warned me to be careful. Desperate people did dangerous things. Mrs. Zhang from down the hall mentioned a strange man had been asking about my schedule. Her description of the disheveled man in designer clothes was unmistakably Marcus. She'd told him nothing, sensing something off about his questions. I checked LinkedIn one evening and found Marcus had been messaging my colleagues about business opportunities. His profile still listed him as a successful day trader, though Sophia's banker husband had mentioned seeing Marcus's name on multiple defaulted accounts. Dr. Patricia Chen, my mentor and the charity ball organizer, asked to speak with me privately after rounds. She'd known our mother years ago, she said carefully, had even testified at the custody hearing. She knew the truth about the supposed sale of Marcus that he kept referencing. The storage unit yielded more evidence on my second visit. Behind old furniture, I found a box of legal documents from Dad's lawyer. The sale narrative Marcus clung to was a legal fiction created for tax purposes. Mom had fought to keep us together, but Dad's money had won. Emma's trust was visibly shaken as the days passed. Her questions became more pointed. Why had I never mentioned a brother? What else had I hidden? Her friend group's doubts were seeping into our relationship, exactly as Marcus had planned. 3 nurses who'd known me since my McDonald's days reached out after hearing rumors. They remembered the teenager studying between shifts, saving every penny for college. Their support felt like a lifeline as Marcus's campaign intensified. I started documenting everything. Screenshots of his social media posts before he edited them. Security footage of him at my building. The paper trail he was leaving might be useful later, though the police had already said family harassment was hard to prosecute. Dr. Chen connected me with Donna, Dad's former secretary. Over coffee, Donna revealed this wasn't the first time. Dad had paid Marcus to harass me before, during my first year of medical school. The pattern was established. Dad using Marcus as a weapon when it suited him. As the charity ball approached, Marcus's behavior grew more erratic. He created a memorial Facebook page for Mom, using a photo from my graduation cropped to exclude her. The narrative painted me as the neglectful son who'd abandoned her. Comments poured in from strangers who didn't know the truth. Emma's parents, who'd been looking forward to the ball, now exchanged worried glances when my name came up. They'd overheard Marcus at a restaurant, loudly telling anyone who'd listen about their future son-in-law's real character. His words were poison, carefully crafted to destroy what I'd built. But something else was happening too. People who really knew me were pushing back. The truth about Mom's sacrifices was spreading through quiet conversations. Marcus's influence was limited to strangers and social media. My real support network was holding. The morning of the charity ball, I stood in Mom's storage unit one last time. Everything I'd found painted a picture Marcus didn't want to see, that we were both Dad's victims, just broken in different ways. Mom had loved us both, had sacrificed everything trying to protect us from becoming like our father. I locked the unit and drove to the hospital. Tonight, Marcus would make his big play at the ball. I could feel it in the escalating pattern of his harassment. He'd try to destroy everything in front of everyone who mattered to me, but I had something he didn't expect. The truth, documented and verified, and people who knew exactly who I really was. The charity ball arrived faster than expected. I adjusted my bow tie in the hospital bathroom mirror, my hands steady despite everything. Emma waited in the car, her silence heavier than any argument we'd had about Marcus. She'd chosen a conservative dress instead of the bold red one she'd originally picked. The change spoke volumes about her current state of mind. The grand ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and donor generosity. Medical equipment displays lined the walls, including my contribution, a portable ultrasound machine I'd saved for months to donate. Dr. Chen greeted us at the entrance, her knowing glance telling me she'd already spotted Marcus inside. Emma's grip on my arm tightened as we entered. Marcus stood near the champagne fountain, wearing an ill-fitting rented tuxedo that hung wrong on his frame. His hands trembled slightly as he lifted a glass to his lips, his third, judging by the flush on his cheeks. Emma noticed him immediately and tensed beside me, her confusion evident as she studied the disheveled stranger. I had seconds to decide, acknowledge him or pretend he didn't exist. Before I could choose, Marcus's voice boomed across the elegant space. He announced himself as my brother to a cluster of nearby donors, his words slightly slurred from pre-gaming in the parking lot. Several heads turned our direction. Moving quickly, I intercepted him before he could approach Emma's parents, who stood chatting with hospital board members near the auction displays. Marcus's champagne sloshed dangerously as I guided him away from the crowd. His hands shook noticeably now, whether from nerves or withdrawal I couldn't tell. Emma's parents had already noticed the commotion. Her mother Caroline's eyebrows rose as Marcus's voice carried across the room, calling me Mom's charity case loud enough for half the ballroom to hear. He added details about me stealing food as a teenager, mixing truth with malice. Her father's concerned glance found mine across the crowd. Dr. Chen materialized at my elbow with practiced grace. She mentioned quietly that she'd known our mother years ago, her tone carefully neutral, but her meaning clear. She'd been at the custody hearing. She knew the real story. Her presence felt like a shield as more guests turned to watch our interaction. The security guard near the entrance shifted his weight, his hand hovering near his radio. I caught his eye and shook my head slightly. Ejecting Marcus would create a bigger scene. Better to contain the damage, guide him somewhere quiet. The guard nodded but remained alert. I steered Marcus toward a quiet corner near the coat check, but he twisted away with surprising agility. He stumbled toward the donor auction display, his unsteady gait drawing more attention. My portable ultrasound machine sat prominently on the central table, representing months of savings. Marcus's elbow caught the edge of the display as he pretended to stumble. The ultrasound machine teetered dangerously before crashing to the marble floor. The sound echoed through the ballroom like a gunshot. Conversation stopped. Everyone stared. The ball photographer's flash went off just as I reached out to steady Marcus. The image captured me supporting my hammered brother, his calculating smirk hidden from the camera angle. To everyone watching, I looked like the caring sibling helping his troubled brother. The irony burned. Emma's best friend Sophia approached during the commotion, her curiosity overcoming social discretion. Marcus seized the opportunity, launching into stories about my childhood. He wove truth with poison. Yes, I'd worked at McDonald's, but he made it sound shameful. Yes, Mom struggled financially, but he painted her as neglectful. Sophia's banker husband and Nicholas joined them, his expression shifting as he recognized Marcus's name. He mentioned quietly about seeing it on defaulted trading accounts at his firm. The information spread through whispered conversations, but Marcus was too focused on his performance to notice. The security guard caught my attention with a discreet gesture toward the coat check. While Marcus entertained his audience with tales of my supposed abandonment of our mother, I slipped away to investigate. Tucked behind Marcus's overcoat were printed emails from our parents' divorce proceedings. My hands stilled as I read the custody evaluator's notes. The phrase monetary compensation appeared multiple times. Dad had essentially purchased Marcus. The legal documents confirmed. The evaluator had recommended joint custody, but Dad's lawyers had found ways around it. Emma found me there, her confusion morphing into hurt. She asked why I'd never mentioned having a brother. Her trust, already shaken by the past weeks, cracked further. I could see her reconsidering everything she thought she knew about me. The rest of the ball passed in a blur of damage control. Marcus held court near the bar, his stories growing more elaborate with each drink. I focused on the donors who actually knew me, letting my work speak louder than his words. But the seeds of doubt were planted. The next morning brought Marcus's escalation. He ambushed me in the hospital parking garage, appearing from behind a concrete pillar as I headed to my car. His phone screen glowed with screenshots. Mom's old dating profile from 2009, active during their marriage. He shoved the phone at me, pointing to messages with someone named Brad. The timestamp made my blood run cold. These were from the week of my scholarship interview, the most crucial week of my teenage years. Marcus's narrative was clear. Mom had been cheating, possibly worse. One particular text stood out. Mom begging Dad for money, dated 2011. The message seemed to confirm Marcus's twisted version, that she'd sold him for financial support. The timestamp aligned with my scholarship interview, when she'd needed money most desperately. Marcus's campaign expanded beyond personal confrontation. Emma received texts from an unknown number claiming I'd let our mother die alone while attending a medical conference. The details were specific enough that only Marcus could have known them. Emma's trust eroded further with each message. The anonymous complaint to the hospital arrived the same morning. Someone had reported me for abandoning a dying parent. Chief Morrison called me in, dismissing the complaint immediately, but noting his own messy divorce had taught him how vicious family could become. The photo of his estranged son on his desk spoke volumes. I returned to Mom's storage unit that afternoon, desperate for anything to counter Marcus's narrative. Behind dusty boxes of my old textbooks, I discovered her journal from the divorce years. The pages revealed Dad's ultimatum in Mom's shaky handwriting: give me Marcus or get nothing. The next entry stopped my heart. Mom had chosen me over the money. She'd given up Marcus not because she didn't love him, but to protect me from Dad's influence. She'd known I was more vulnerable, more likely to be destroyed by his manipulation. The sacrifice had broken her. Emma's friend group chat exploded with Sophia's ball gossip. Screenshots found their way to Emma's phone, her friends questioning whether she wanted a husband who abandoned family. The poison spread exactly as Marcus intended, each whispered doubt multiplying through social networks. Marcus's stalking pattern emerged clearly over the following days. He appeared at my gym at 6 a.m., watching from across the weight room. The coffee shop barista mentioned he'd been asking about my regular order. His car occupied different spots in the hospital parking lot during my shifts. James pulled me aside during Sunday dinner at Emma's parents' house. His legal investigation had uncovered patterns in Dad's financial manipulations during the divorce: shell companies, hidden assets, bribes to court officials. The scope went beyond simple custody battles. He warned that desperate people like Marcus became dangerous when cornered. Mrs. Zhang knocked on my door one evening, concern creasing her face. A disheveled man in designer clothes had been asking about my schedule. Her description of Marcus was perfect, down to the nervous hand gestures. She'd sensed something off and told him nothing, but the violation of my privacy stung. LinkedIn notifications revealed Marcus's next tactic. He'd messaged dozens of my colleagues about vague business opportunities. His profile still claimed success as a day trader, though Nicholas had confirmed multiple defaulted accounts. The professional harassment felt especially invasive. Dr. Chen requested a private meeting after rounds. Her revelation hit hard. She'd testified at our parents' custody hearing years ago. She'd watched Dad's lawyers twist facts, paint Mom as unfit. She knew the truth about the supposed sale of Marcus, how Dad had manipulated the system. Another storage unit visit yielded a box of Dad's lawyers' documents. The sale narrative Marcus clung to was revealed as a legal fiction, created for tax purposes. Mom had fought desperately to keep us together, submitting appeal after appeal. Dad's money had crushed each attempt. Emma's questions grew sharper as her trust crumbled. Why had I hidden an entire sibling? What else hadn't I told her? Her friend group's doubts poisoned our conversations. She returned her engagement ring to its box one night, though she kept it on her dresser, a sign of hope amid the chaos. 3 nurses from my McDonald's days reached out after hearing the rumors. They remembered the exhausted teenager studying between shifts, saving every penny for college. Their public support on social media helped counter Marcus's narrative, but the damage was spreading faster than the truth. I began documenting everything obsessively. Screenshots captured his social media posts before he edited them. Security footage showed him lurking at my building. The paper trail grew thick, though the police had already explained that family harassment rarely led to restraining orders. Dr. Chen arranged a meeting with Donna, Dad's former secretary. Over coffee, Donna's revelations chilled me. This wasn't Marcus's first harassment campaign. Dad had paid him to disrupt my first year of medical school, too. The pattern was established. Dad weaponizing Marcus whenever it suited his purposes. Marcus created a Facebook memorial page for Mom as the harassment intensified. He used my graduation photo, carefully cropped to exclude her. The narrative painted me as the neglectful son who'd abandoned her in her final days. Comments from strangers poured in, believing his fabricated story. Emma's parents overheard Marcus at a local restaurant, loudly describing their future son-in-law's real character to anyone who'd listen. His poison spread through their social circles. Caroline and her husband exchanged worried glances whenever my name arose, their enthusiasm for the wedding visibly dimming. But my real support network began pushing back. People who'd known me for years recognized Marcus's lies. The truth about Mom's sacrifices spread through quieter channels, nurses sharing stories, colleagues defending my character. Marcus's influence remained limited to strangers and social media Sophia. Caroline surprised me by recalling seeing Mom at a food bank years ago, but her memory differed from Marcus's narrative. Mom had been there helping others, not seeking help. She'd volunteered every week despite her own struggles. The revelation cracked Marcus's wealthy victim storyline. Sophia resisted Marcus's dinner invitation after Nicholas warned about his financial fraud history. She noticed him photographing their house during the rejection, his behavior increasingly erratic. The banker's warnings about Marcus's defaulted accounts spread through their social circle. I screenshotted every post Marcus made, building a digital timeline of his harassment. His edits revealed strategy: post inflammatory content, let it spread, then soften the language to seem reasonable. The pattern showed calculated manipulation, not emotional outbursts. The police visit confirmed my fears. Family harassment required extensive documentation. They suggested working it out as family, their disinterest clear. Without threats of physical violence, Marcus could continue his campaign unchecked. The system wasn't designed for this kind of psychological warfare. 3 nurses who'd known me as a McDonald's teenager vouched for my character to Emma. They shared memories of me studying between shifts, turning down parties to save money. Their stories of the exhausted kid determined to escape poverty countered Marcus's silver spoon narrative. My own calendar and text history proved Mom had been at a routine checkup during her supposed abandonment. The medical conference Marcus referenced had occurred months after her death. His timeline didn't match reality, but his emotional manipulation overshadowed facts. Dr. Chen connected me with more witnesses from the custody hearing. Each revealed another piece of Dad's manipulation puzzle. He'd paid experts to testify against Mom, hired private investigators to manufacture evidence. The scope of his campaign to secure Marcus became clearer. I responded to the memorial page with simple facts. No emotion, just dates and documentation. Mom's actual medical records, visitor logs showing my regular presence. The comments began shifting from accusatory to supportive as truth emerged through the noise. Emma's wedding venue called about a security concern. Someone claiming to be family had requested the guest list. Their description matched Marcus perfectly. The violation of our privacy extended to every aspect of our lives. Emma's fear replaced her anger. James's investigation uncovered Marcus's lawsuit against Dad. He'd claimed I was receiving secret payments, demanding equal support. The lawsuit revealed the truth. Dad had cut off both sons. Marcus's desperation stemmed from financial abandonment, not principle. A restaurant confrontation exposed Marcus's fragility. When the waitress mentioned seeing his car repossessed, his mask slipped completely. He threw his water glass, storming out as patrons stared. The public meltdown undermined his carefully crafted image. Marcus's extortion attempt came through a burner phone. $50,000 to disappear. I recorded the entire conversation, his desperation evident in every word. The recording shifted Emma's friend group's perception. His true motivations became undeniable. The second storage unit box, hidden behind old furniture, contained Dad's lawyer's full files. The supposed sale of Marcus was revealed as a tax maneuver. Mom had never sold anyone. She'd been forced to choose between children to salvage anything from the divorce. Marcus's influence shrank as truth emerged. Strangers on social media still believed his narrative, but anyone who knew me recognized the lies. My support network solidified while his desperate tactics alienated potential allies. Donna provided the most shocking evidence. Canceled checks from Mom to Marcus over the years. She'd kept copies as protection against Dad. Mom had been secretly supporting Marcus despite everything. I'd never known about her continued sacrifice. Emma postponed wedding planning but stayed. Despite family pressure, she kept the engagement ring in its box on her dresser. Our late-night conversations rebuilt trust through painful honesty about my childhood. She began understanding why I'd hidden Marcus's existence. I refused public responses despite pressure to defend myself. Dignity meant not engaging in Marcus's mudslinging. Each calm reaction to his chaos strengthened my position while his desperation became increasingly apparent. The coffee shop confrontation revealed Marcus's deepest wound. Through tears that seemed genuine for the first time, he admitted knowing Mom loved me more. She'd chosen me, fought for me, sacrificed for him. The inequality had poisoned him since childhood. My medical records listed me as Mom's emergency contact. Visitor logs confirmed regular visits throughout her illness. The documentation contradicted Marcus's abandonment narrative completely. Truth emerged through paperwork, not emotion. Marcus's girlfriend Tanya left after learning about the extortion attempt. His support system, already fragile, crumbled entirely. The isolation he'd tried to impose on me became his own reality. Neighbors and colleagues independently concluded Marcus was unstable. The doorman barred him from my building after multiple incidents. His options for harassment shrank as more people recognized his behavior. My med school classmates created a support fund for Mom's chosen charity. The positive response to Marcus's negative campaign showed how communities could transform poison into purpose. The fundraiser exceeded its goal within days. Marcus crashed my hospital lunch, creating a scene in the cafeteria. Security removed him as he shouted about family betrayal. The public display of instability further undermined his credibility. Colleagues who'd wondered about his claims saw the truth firsthand. Emma's parents explicitly excluded toxic relatives from their dinner invitation. Family photos on their mantle now included me. Their acceptance felt like victory against Marcus's campaign to isolate me. Marcus found himself banned from increasing locations: the hospital, wedding venue, my apartment building. His harassment campaign had made him persona non grata in my entire life sphere. The isolation he'd intended for me became his prison. Donna revealed she'd replaced Dad's first secretary, who quit after being asked to lie about his first wife's death. The pattern of using children for financial manipulation extended beyond our family. Dad had destroyed multiple lives through similar tactics. I quietly ensured the youth programs that had helped me survived hospital board budget cuts. An anonymous donation matching Marcus's harassment costs felt like appropriate karma. Building something positive from his destructive energy became my response. Medical colleagues organized a support dinner, sharing their own toxic family stories. The evening revealed how common Marcus's tactics were. Everyone had relatives who confused blood with ownership, who demanded loyalty while offering only pain. Marcus's attempts to contact Emma's workplace were blocked after IT identified phishing attempts. His digital harassment met technological barriers. Each failed attempt increased his desperation and sloppiness. An Uber driver who'd transported Marcus multiple times refused refused future rides. He'd recognized the erratic behavior, the muttered threats. Even strangers sensed the danger Marcus posed to himself and others. Hospital board members mentioned being impressed by my grace under pressure. Marcus's public attacks had backfired, highlighting my professionalism instead of undermining it. His harassment had become an unintended character reference. Dad's financial records, subpoenaed in Marcus's lawsuit, revealed systematic manipulation spanning decades. He'd used both sons as pawns in tax schemes and emotional warfare. The scope of his sociopathy became court record. Mom's death anniversary approached with inevitable dread. Marcus would certainly plan an ambush at her gravesite. I had to decide whether to visit and risk confrontation or abandon my ritual to avoid him. Local news picked up the charity fund story, inadvertently making Marcus's harassment public. His anonymous attacks lost power when connected to his name. The coverage shifted from scandal to inspiration. The realization hit hard. Winning meant Marcus lost his last connection to anyone who knew him before Dad's influence. I was his final link to the brother he'd been before money poisoned everything. Victory felt hollow. I sent a single message before blocking all contact. Forgiveness, encouragement to seek help, goodbye. The read receipts showed him opening it repeatedly. My final words became his obsession, replaying endlessly on his phone screen. Emma's family lawyer sent a cease and desist regarding the wedding. Legal boundaries reinforced personal ones. Marcus's options for harassment shrank to nothing as formal systems finally responded. Truth about Mom's sacrifices spread organically through community conversations. Her story of choosing love over money resonated with other parents who'd faced similar choices. Marcus's narrative crumbled against collective memory. An online supporter messaged privately, sharing how her father had used children for financial manipulation. She'd lost her entire family to similar tactics. The connection revealed how common our tragedy was. Marcus appeared at Mom's grave, but found fresh flowers already placed. I'd visited at dawn, maintaining my ritual while avoiding confrontation. His breakdown at finding evidence of my continued devotion was witnessed by the groundskeeper. The groundskeeper later told me about Marcus's reaction to learning I visited monthly. Years of consistent visits contradicted every abandonment narrative. Marcus had sobbed among the headstones, his constructed reality shattered. His trading accounts were permanently suspended for fraud. The cheap motel became his new reality as Dad refused his calls. The golden child discovered what abandonment actually felt like. Wedding planning resumed with tighter security and a smaller guest list. Trust became the invitation criteria. The intimate celebration would exclude not just Marcus, but anyone who'd entertained his lies. Unexpected champions emerged from Mom's final days. Nurses who'd attended her offered testimony about her love for both sons. Her last words had been about Marcus, not anger, but hope that he'd find peace. I compiled a timeline showing every opportunity Marcus had received while I'd earned each achievement. The facts created an undeniable narrative. Privilege hadn't guaranteed success any more than poverty had ensured failure. Marcus's ex-girlfriend Tanya reached out again, sharing manipulation patterns from their relationship. His tactics with me matched his romantic behavior. Isolation, gaslighting, financial exploitation. The consistency revealed deep-seated patterns. The truth finally emerged through Mom's best friend Vicky, who'd been living abroad during the divorce. She arrived at my apartment carrying a box of letters Mom had written but never sent. Her hands trembled as she handed them over, explaining she'd kept them safe for years, waiting for the right moment. The letters revealed Mom's calculated strategy. She'd let Dad think he'd won by taking Marcus, knowing his narcissism would eventually destroy their relationship. Meanwhile, she'd protect me from his influence, even if it meant living in poverty. One letter detailed her plan to ensure I developed empathy and work ethic, qualities Dad's money would have erased. Dad's emails to his lawyer surfaced next, forwarded anonymously to James. The messages outlined his scheme to avoid paying either son fairly, using Marcus as a weapon while keeping me desperate enough to never challenge him legally. The phrase, disposing of obligations to both boys, appeared repeatedly in his correspondence. My inner circle rallied without prompting. Dr. Chen organized a meeting with hospital administration, preemptively addressing any concerns about my character. Colleagues who'd witnessed my dedication over the years provided written statements. The unanimous support rendered Marcus's campaign ineffective within my professional sphere. Marcus waited in my hospital parking spot the following evening, security cameras capturing him trying my door handles. When he found the car locked, he simply sat on the ground beside it, shoulders shaking. Security found him there an hour later, still crying. I arrived as they held him, his designer clothes filthy from the parking garage floor. The security supervisor asked if I wanted to press charges for attempted breaking and entering. Marcus looked up at me, his face a mess of tears and desperation. For the first time since childhood, I saw my brother instead of Dad's weapon. Emma arrived moments later, having received the security alert on her phone. She surveyed the scene, Marcus restrained, me frozen with indecision, security waiting for direction. Her family had been pressuring her to insist on prosecution, to protect our future from his chaos. I posted bail without telling anyone, sitting alone in my car outside the jail processing what I'd done. Memories flooded back. Marcus teaching me to ride a bike, sneaking me cookies when Mom said no, protecting me from neighborhood bullies before the divorce changed everything. Somewhere under Dad's programming, my brother still existed. The decision crystallized. I'd pay for Marcus's therapy instead of pursuing charges. When I informed him at the bail hearing, he initially erupted, storming out of the courthouse. His pride couldn't accept help from the brother he'd tormented. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed with a photo from Marcus. The image showed a bridge railing with the river below, the same bridge where we'd fished with Mom before the divorce. His location pin confirmed he was there. No message accompanied the photo, but the implication was clear. I recognized the spot immediately. We'd caught our first fish there, Mom cheering as we reeled it in together. The memory hit hard. We'd been a family once, before money and manipulation tore us apart. I grabbed my keys and drove through empty streets. Marcus sat on the bridge's pedestrian walkway when I arrived, legs dangling through the railing. He didn't turn as I approached, but his shoulders tensed. I sat beside him without speaking, matching his position. The river rushed below, dark and indifferent. We sat in silence for 20 minutes before Marcus finally broke. Through sobs, he admitted Dad had made him sign papers at 18, giving up all inheritance claims in exchange for continued trust fund access. The document had trapped him in Dad's control, each year deepening his dependence and resentment. moment, the truth poured out in fragments. Dad had poisoned him against Mom systematically, showing doctored evidence, hiring actors to play Mom's supposed lovers. By the time Marcus realized the manipulation, he'd already internalized the hatred. He'd become exactly what Dad designed, a weapon aimed at anyone who threatened Dad's narrative. I called Dr. Chen from the bridge, explaining the situation. She arrived within 30 minutes, not as my mentor, but as a psychiatrist who'd known our family's dysfunction intimately. Her presence shifted the dynamic from crisis to medical intervention. The choice became clear: involve authorities and risk Marcus's complete destruction, or handle this as the family medical emergency it was. I chose to sign as his medical proxy for voluntary commitment, preserving what dignity he had left while ensuring he got help. Marcus entered treatment that morning, the intake process revealing years of prescription substance abuse I'd never suspected. I covered the costs despite Emma's family's objections. Their concerns were valid, but I couldn't abandon the brother I'd once known, even if he'd abandoned me. Dad called that afternoon, having heard about Marcus's hospitalization. His threats to cut me off completely rang hollow. I'd never expected anything from him anyway. I ended the call mid-sentence, his rage meaningless against the reality of what he'd created. Marcus's first communication from treatment came 3 days later, a simple text saying, "Thank you," with no requests attached. The brevity spoke volumes. For the first time in over a decade, he'd acknowledged my help without demanding more. The wedding proceeded as planned, smaller but more meaningful. Marcus sent a letter through his treatment facility, asking me to read it privately. His words were simple: "Thank you for choosing me when no one else would." He didn't ask to attend, understanding the boundaries necessary for everyone's healing. 6 months passed with Marcus quietly rebuilding. He took a dishwasher job at a restaurant, attended AA meetings, continued therapy. The golden child learned what actual work felt like. His updates came sporadically, always brief, never asking for money. We began meeting monthly for coffee, establishing new patterns without discussing the past. The conversation stayed surface level: work, weather, sports. But showing up mattered more than the words. We were learning to be brothers again without Dad's poison between us. Dad's lawyer contacted both of us about estate planning changes following Dad's mild heart attack. The manipulation continued even from his hospital bed, promising generosity while maintaining control. We both declined to visit, our silence speaking louder than any confrontation could. 2 years later, we stood together at Dad's funeral. Marcus had been sober for 300 days. Neither of us spoke at the service, but our presence together said everything. The weapon and the target had become brothers again, united in their refusal to perpetuate his legacy. The final transformation came gradually. I established a successful practice while Marcus found purpose managing a recovery center. His lived experience helped others escape similar traps. Emma's pregnancy with twins brought joy neither of us had imagined possible. We named them after both grandparents who'd shown actual love, Mom and her father. Marcus became the uncle who showed up, stayed sober, and built new patterns. Our daily texts never mentioned money or the past, focusing instead on hope and the family we chose to build. Mom's grave now received 2 sets of flowers monthly. Neither of us had Dad's wealth, but we'd found something more valuable. We'd saved each other from becoming him, breaking the cycle through choice rather than circumstance. The brothers who'd been weapons aimed at each other had learned to lay down their arms.